In a quiet corner of an old neighborhood, there is a house that was built not just with bricks and mortar, but with the silent prayers and hard-earned savings of a father who believed in the sanctity of a united home. Inside these walls, the scent of jasmine and the soft murmur of evening prayers once offered a sanctuary from the chaotic world outside. Ahmed lived here as a man of traditional values, a son who viewed his parents' presence as a blessing from Allah and his marriage as a sacred trust. He was a man who worked from dawn until dusk, coming home with hands calloused from labor but a heart full of devotion. His life was defined by the rhythmic peace of a joint family system where every member had a place, and every conflict was resolved with the wisdom of the elders. However, a cold wind has begun to blow through the corridors of these homes in Pakistan, carrying with it the seeds of a new and unsettling era. The atmosphere in the house began to change, not with a loud explosion, but with the subtle, chilling shift of a wife's gaze. The demands for a separate house, once spoken of as a distant dream, became a sharp-edged ultimatum. Ahmed looked at his elderly mother, whose hands trembled as she poured tea, and his father, whose eyes reflected a lifetime of sacrifice, and he knew he could not cast them aside. But in the shadows of this domestic struggle, a new law was waiting, a law that promised protection but, in reality, offered a weapon to dismantle the very foundation of the family. The tension grew thick and heavy, like the humid air before a monsoon storm. Ahmed tried to speak with the language of the heart, reminding his wife of the rights granted by Allah and the beauty of a home where generations lived in harmony. He spoke of the Quranic path of reconciliation and the patience required to build a life together. But the influence of a different world had entered their home, one that viewed the joint family not as a blessing, but as a prison. Every small disagreement, every misunderstood word, and every moment of friction was now being catalogued, not for forgiveness, but for accusation. The grounded realism of their daily life became a minefield where one wrong word could trigger a catastrophic chain of events. Ahmed did not know that his status as a husband, a provider, and a protector was being quietly rewritten by a system that favored the verbal claim over the proven truth. He believed that as long as he was just and kind, the law of the land would reflect the law of his faith. He did not realize that the Protection Bill had created a landscape where a man could be ruined by a mere whisper and where the sanctity of the home could be violated by a single phone call to the authorities. The final evening of peace was marked by a silence that felt heavier than any argument they had ever had. As the sun set, casting long, bruised shadows across the courtyard, the wife picked up the phone. There was no physical violence, no shouting, and no broken glass. There was only a verbal accusation, a claim of jealousy, a threat of second marriage, and a demand for a separate life that Ahmed simply could not afford. In that moment, the thousands of years of tradition that held the Pakistani family together seemed to evaporate. The law did not ask for evidence. It did not wait for the testimony of neighbors or the mediation of family elders. It acted with a cold, mechanical precision. Ahmed watched in the days as the authorities arrived at the door of the house he had painstakingly maintained. He saw the confusion in his parents' eyes, a look of betrayal that would haunt him for the rest of his life. The sanctuary was gone, replaced by a legal battlefield where he was already judged before he could speak a word in his defense. The soft pacing of their lives was shattered, replaced by the harsh reality of a system that views the destruction of the family as progress. Ahmed stood at the threshold of his own home, realizing that the era of the Dajjali law had finally arrived at his doorstep, and the life he knew was fading into a memory of a time when a man's home was truly his castle.